Like when we're done. Good evening, everybody. I hope you missed me because I'm back. As you know, last week I was on vacation. I wasn't here. I know the show wasn't as great, so I want to start the show by saying, everybody at home, I am so sorry I couldn't be here last week. I know JB and John are great. I know they do a good job. I know the show wasn't as good without me, though. I know it needed that young, fresh face. I get it. I understand it. I know I was missed. So welcome to Sideline Sports. I am back. It's great to be back. You guys were
I think he is out of order already. I mean, this is a record. 39 seconds in, out of order.
And he doesn't even realize he keeps going.
Yeah, I mean, this is a typical New Yorker.
Well, he's from New Jersey. That's the first mistake. So you're doing good, too. You're all killing me. You're all killing me tonight.
I'm waiting until he realizes that we can't hear a thing he's saying.
He has no clue. It's pretty amazing.
Nope.
No.
See, this is what happens when you brag about how you're the greatest thing ever. See, this is what happens.
We didn't have to mute him. We didn't have to mute him.
I'm loving this. Silent Jake. This is perfect. Wow. It's like Silent Bob when Jay and Silent Bob.
If only Kevin Durant was this silent, John. He made himself look like a fool.
Kevin Durant.
Let's get rid of everybody. Let's get rid of the guy that sells the popcorn at section 222 because he's the worst. He yells popcorn too loud, and it messes up my free throws. You know? I mean, poor Jake. Can Jake hear us at least? Jake, if you can hear us, give us a thumbs up. There you go. Jake can hear us, so let's have fun, John. Let's do a great show now.
All right.
Yes. So Kevin Durant, basically said you got to fire Steve Nash and the GM, and I'll stay. Today it's announced that he met with Joe Tsai and he's going to stay with the Nets. He's on the same page, and they're all going to work to be number one and to bring Brooklyn a championship, which they haven't had one since 1955 with the Dodgers. So what do you think about that, John, about the Clown Prince himself?
Oh, man, I mean, it's going to be interesting because he wanted Steve Nash and the GM gone. They're not gone. And now he has to work with them and work under them. He wanted out, and now he's got to come crawling back to the fan base. He has nowhere to go because they set the bar way too high for trading him. So now it's like they have each other, and that's it, and they can't go anywhere. And this is just beautiful because the Nets deserve him, and he deserves the Nets. And they're not going to win a championship. I mean, Ben Simmons, good luck dealing with that. Kyrie Irving, good luck with dealing with that in his contract year. So, you're Kevin Durant, and you're stuck. You chose this. You wanted all of this. You got everything you ever wanted. Me? Yes.
Yeah, you can hear me.
We can hear you, Jake.
Fixed it.
All right.
Anyway, so real quick,
you got everything you ever wanted as Kevin Durant. Everything you asked for. But then it wasn't good enough. And then James Harden left. He got traded. And then you got Ben Simmons, but Ben Simmons has his issues. And Kyrie Irving, you don't know if he was going to get vaccinated or not. And then, it's just an absolute disaster. And then you ask out, and then you ask for people to be fired, and they don't get fired. This is beautiful. This doesn't happen in Miami. I just want to let you guys know. Heat culture doesn't work this way. We're the opposite of what the Nets are. I just had to throw that in there.
I wish I was still muted because, of course, he has to bring it back to Miami. I just wanted to quickly say, before I got disconnected, whatever happened, I was actually going to say I really missed being with you guys last week, though. And I was, funny enough, I heard everything you guys were saying, and I was about to say, I was literally mouthing, my mouth was moving, and I was speaking. You couldn't hear me. I was saying something nice. I was actually saying, I'm making all these jokes. I missed being on the show last week. I enjoyed my vacation, but I missed being with you guys. And, of course, you couldn't hear any of the nice things I was trying to say. As for Kevin Durant, as for Kevin Durant, John, you're right. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a superstar get everything they want and still be unhappy and complain like this. This is ridiculous.
Well, let me know when you guys are done because I'm going to segue into something that I just want to bring up real quick. When we're done talking about the Clown Prince of Brooklyn.
Please.
I wanted to quickly add this last thing is just what more can he want? What do you need?
A
Get the
max
money.
contract. He picked his team.
Right. You picked your team. You got the money you want.
You picked your stars.
Your teammates. You basically ran the entire team by getting the team you wanted, and then going on to said team and picking your teammates, the amount of money you got, the years, everything. You literally got every single thing you wanted. You may as well have been running the team. You may as well just been the GM and said, "Oh, here you go, self. Like, here's your contract. Here are your teammates that are you got everything you wanted, and you still want out. I mean, what if you were going to be this unhappy? Why did you leave Golden State? If you were going to be this unhappy going somewhere else and be this much of an absolute pain, what is the point? I don't understand it.
I mean, when are guys going to realize that they're not GMs? You know, they're basketball players.
Well,
yes, it's great. It's great to play with your friends. You know, if we had a team, I want you guys to be on it, definitely. But you know what? If it comes down to it, and I want to win whatever sport we're playing, I'm not going to be the guy picking the team because that's not what I'm doing. If I'm the player, I'm playing. Let the GM do what they got to do. Stop, bitching and moaning, and just go on the court and play. I mean, if you're not happy, you're not happy. But first of all, asking for a trade and doing that, you now decrease your value. And
but this is his happiness, JB. This is his happiness. He chose this. Like, how is he not happy if you literally made your own happiness? You said, I want this, you're given this. I want this, I was given this. You want everything, and the Nets are like, here you go. Everything you ever want, we've given you. How are you not happy? What, because you didn't win a championship? That's not the GM's fault. Like, they gave you every player you wanted. Like, what more do you want? Go win a damn championship. Like, it's not the GM's fault.
It's absolutely disgusting.
I think the problem is it's this whole super team mentality in some ways has kind of caused what we're talking about right now. And it's not, and I always pick this one just because these two are the most obvious, I think, to me. It was the Celtics big team up and then the Heat's big team up, or in recent memory, the big ones that we've talked about.
At least they won at least one championship.
My point is that I think those kinds of teams that have come together, and then the fact that the Warriors were just really great, and that wasn't like players choosing to team up. That was just a super team that kind of happened.
They drafted them, yeah.
But I'm saying so. I think the idea of those are three super teams, and one of them just happened naturally. But having those teams and having two of those three be guys just like, yeah, let's get together and do this as a team. Let's make this big giant team. I think that has given the players this mentality that if we just form a super team, we're going to win. And I think players have forgotten a very simple rule. There are two types of teams, and the Warriors happen to have been both, but it's really hard to have both. You can have an all-star team, which is a team that gels together really well, and regardless of how good or bad those individual players are, the team itself plays on an all-star level. They're amazing. Or you can be a team of all-stars. The Warriors are the easy example of a team that was before, nobody joined forces. It didn't have to be that way. They were drafted to be exactly that. The players really worked great together, and they still do, but there were also just a bunch of talented players, and players want to make these teams like that, and it's just not going to happen. We're seeing a lot of teams of all-stars, but you're not getting all-star teams anymore. You're getting a lot of just guys put together. Look at the Lakers. Look at the Lakers. Okay, they win one championship, but let's just call it what it is. It was a championship, and it's great, but it's always going to be a little bit of an asterisk for a lot of people because of the way that the playoffs were that year and the fact that COVID was that year, and that was the start, right? So people are going to look at that and say, well, would they, it
at least they got one done. The Nets haven't even gotten close.
I know, but I'm just saying, but look at that's the only team that I can think of that was, the last 8 years that joined together like that and won a championship. It doesn't happen.
Team. It doesn't work where you can pick your team. It's not possible. It's not the way you create a winning team.
I mean, LeBron, Wade, and Bosh did it, but that's an exception to the rule.
They weren't a winning team.
They won 2 championships. They went to 4 straight. How's that winning? They won back to back.
They're garbage.
How many teams
Anyway.
in history have won multiple championships?
They were
How many
garbage. We're not going to talk about Miami.
Like stop with that.
We're not going to talk about Miami.
You can't.
You're out of order. Anyway, let's switch topics, and I want to give our condolences to a former guest of the program. Jay Roots passed away the other day. First of all, on this topic, if anyone in your family or yourself is suffering from something and you're going through something, there are always people to call. There's 800 numbers. There's family, there's friends, but there's always somebody out there. Before you think about doing something drastic, reach out, and I'm sure there'll be somebody there to help you. But I wanted to give condolences to the Roots family, the Texan family, and everyone associated with Jamie and his family. And, we all want to give our condolences at this hard time for them. That's about it on that.
Yeah. And it sucks. Like, him and I had a pretty decent relationship. It's been a minute since we talked, but we had a pretty good relationship, I would say. And, we developed a nice relationship. And so just to see this, I was so shocked. And I was so sad for his loved ones. And, he would definitely be missed. Coming out of the whole Deshaun Watson thing, when we talked to him beforehand, he said, I don't want to talk about Watson. I want to talk about like other stuff. And we're like, okay. So we talked about like his book and things like that. And, it's just, like JB said, I wanted to send out my condolences and say a little bit about him. I didn't want that to go unnoticed.
Yeah. No, look, it was one of my favorite guests, probably just because he was a very candid person, which you guys know about that. You know how I feel about that. That's very important. Just losing a battle to mental health that's just tough. And I think the most important takeaway from all of this for anybody that's listening or watching or, anything like that, if you know somebody or you personally, not only do you talk to other people, but I think it's important that, if you know somebody, you may not know that they're going through something. So I think it's just important to check up on the people you care about, no matter what, whether you think something's going on or not, because, his family, I'm sure, obviously knew about this, but we talked to him and we did know him. I don't think any of us had the slightest inclination that there was anything going on inside his head of this nature, that, that he was really struggling mentally. And so it's just important, just check on the people that you care about. You never know what's going on in somebody's head. And, if they're struggling, you won't know that always. They won't always outwardly say it, and they might not outwardly put it on their face or in their, expressions of any kind. So obviously our condolences to the family, but also just, a message to everybody is just check on the people you love. Just once a week, maybe. Just, you never know what's going on with somebody, really. And I think that's an important message. I don't want to get lost in this as well.
All right, JB, segue us into the next one.
Yeah, right. JB, take us from this really, really sad moment we're having.
Awkward
let's make it better.
Awkward segue.
Easy segue. Deshaun Watson. Since we last met up,
this man's JB's the best.
Since, Jake was busy downing Mai Tais on the beach in Wildwood,
wasn't Wildwood. It was, hold on. Let's get this right. It wasn't Wildwood. I am an LBI person. Excuse you.
Long Beach Island. Heard of it. Not a fan.
The best, but continue.
So, let's go into Deshaun Watson and Goodell coming back with the 11-game suspension, which coincidentally brings him back to play the Texans.
What is this? I'm 22, man. Come on. I'm not even.
Well done. Well done. This guy.
I just turned 22 like a month ago.
Quick question. Will the Texans win more games than your Giants? Boom. That's possible.
I don't know this. Honestly, I don't know the schedule for the Texans, so I don't want to say yes. But I will say this.
That would be fun.
I honestly think the Texans have a better quarterback.
Ooh. Sorry, JB. I didn't want to interrupt you.
Davis Mills is not as bad as people think he is.
I actually like him a lot.
I think he's a solid quarterback, and I think he's better than Daniel Jones. Now, it doesn't mean Daniel Jones can't turn things around, but Davis Mills is not as bad as people think.
I'd take Davis Mills over Daniel Jones.
So
JB doesn't even know who Davis Mills is.
No, not at all. I would take, my left toe over Daniel Jones. But that's besides the point. I mean, Daniel Jones, probably the 80th best quarterback in the league. And I may be being generous. He is not good.
Anyway.
But, getting back into Watson, 11 games, comes back week 13 against the Houston Texans, which, conspicuous timing by the NFL. Comes back against his old team. Nice setup to get great ratings, to bring everybody to watching it. I mean, seriously?
This couldn't have been
hold on, real
more
quickly.
scripted, man.
Hold on, real quick. Just we were talking about Davis Mills versus Daniel Jones. I wanted to look this up, so I quickly wanted to touch on this, and then we'll go back to that. No, because I'm serious, because Davis Mills is a better quarterback. Daniel Jones last year had under 2,500 yards, threw 10 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 84.8 passer rating. Davis Mills, as a rookie, over 2,600, 16 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 88.8. Davis Mills is a better quarterback than Daniel Jones.
I didn't even know Davis Mills was last year before,
And he made a name better than Daniel Jones.
I thought he was a joke.
No, I mean, he was their starter, John.
Turns out the number 6 overall pick in the draft from a couple years ago is a bigger joke.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, I mean, he trips over his own feet, so.
I mean, look at who drafted him. What did you expect?
Denzel Snipes. That doesn't help me at all. 3rd rounder out of Stanford. I literally don't care or know.
You know what?
I didn't know or care at the time.
He's got potential to be a solid quarterback. So you know what? Good for him.
But I like him now that I know who he is. I like him. I like Davis Mills.
All right. Back to what we were talking about with Deshaun. John, I think you were speaking, so I'll turn it back to you.
Yeah, I mean, this couldn't have been more scripted, man. Like, come on. He comes back versus the Texans, like JB said.
Yeah.
Come on.
I mean,
seriously, I mean, there's a middle ground where, 6 isn't enough. Okay, but we don't want to be suspended the entire season because if the Browns make the playoffs, I want to play in the playoffs. Okay, how about we settle you on, you get to face the team that you hate more than anybody in the history of sports.
Come on.
You get to face the Texans, a team that tried to drag you through the mud and blah, blah, blah. And how about that? And only $5 million fine. Like, seriously? Like,
John,
what does that do to a $230 million
John,
guaranteed quarterback? Come on.
John, it's so simple. And I know you know this, so I'm not saying it like you don't. I'm just saying it comes down to one thing. It's all about the marketing, man. You know that, I know that, JB knows that, we all know it. Okay, here you go. Right here. Yeah, there you go. It's it. It's the ratings. That's exactly what it is. It's all about the way they can market it to get to the ratings. Exactly my point. That is exactly what I'm talking about.
Joke. An absolute pitiful joke.
I think if Deshaun Watson and the Browns didn't play the Texans this season, they'd be like, give them the whole season. But because they said, well, we could make it so he comes back, and all they got to do is play okay football before then. If they can sweep the rest of those games, they'll be in the playoffs. He comes back. It's a huge story. Bam. Everybody forgets about what he did. It's unbelievable. You know what it is? It is exactly what the NFL would do. It is exactly what they do.
They haven't learned their lesson at all in any of this.
I think the thing that will always bother me most, and I'm going to use baseball as the example, and it's recent. It's like last week or 2 weeks ago now, so it's perfect timing. Fernando Tatis Jr. gets suspended 80 games, which in baseball is 1 game short of half of a season. He gets suspended 80 games for using PEDs. Deshaun Watson.
He had to cure his ringworm.
No,
make sure you get it right.
That's a whole other thing. But Deshaun Watson originally suspended 6 games, which is not even half a season for what he did. And then they bump it up to 11. 11 out of 17 games is only a little bit over half. It's about 65% of the games that they play. So my point in all of this is
the big thing is that he still gets to play in the playoffs if they make it. Because if he's out for season, he doesn't qualify for the playoffs.
Exactly. Right. But my biggest point is Fernando Tatis Jr. gets just under 50% of his games for drugs, for PEDs, and Deshaun Watson for doing absolutely egregious and horrible things. Even though he wasn't convicted in a legal sense, it doesn't matter. The allegations were there. He clearly, there are concerns, gets just a little bit more than 50%. Why
don't you talk about Calvin Ridley? Stay in the same sport. PEDs.
And you're right.
What about that,
right.
Calvin Ridley?
And that's the other thing. And that was the other one. And I know we've talked about it, but it's just unbelievable. How do you explain that and say that makes sense? It doesn't make sense to me because
it's a joke. There's no sense to make of it. What's a catch in the NFL?
Let's do the math. Let's do the math.
Ask
so
Des Bryant.
bear with me for a second, if you will. Ben Roethlisberger got suspended when he did this similar type of an action, similar
he was
issue.
found not guilty.
Right. So exactly. So it's the same situation where he was found not guilty. Both guys were non-guilty, but it's the same type of situation, the same type of act, right? He got 6 games for, I believe it was one woman, right? If I remember, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe it was only the one woman. I'll simplify it.
But regardless, doing something like that should warrant more than 6 games.
I'll simplify it. For one legal suit against Ben Roethlisberger, got him 6 games for that act. So what that says to me, per suit, there should be a minimum 6-game suspension. That's what that's precedent is saying. So how they came up with not even double that, not even 12 games for it was 20 plus times what Roethlisberger did. I don't get it. I'm not saying that he needs to be suspended for 40 games because that's
I would.
That's the kind
I'd be all for that. I'd be all for him being kicked out.
I'm not saying that it has to happen, but my point is, if you're telling me one suit is 6 games, how do you get 11 games from 20 plus? How does that add up? Even if you give me the full season, at least it's better. It's not good, but it's at least at that point we're approaching 1 game per suit, which is at least better.
It should have never been less than a season. There's no excuse for it to be less than a season.
And we agree on that. But what annoys me more is that Roger Goodell it's just setting this terrible precedent. It's originally you ask another judge to do it. You don't like a ruling, so you go back on your word. That makes you look bad. Well, then you only give him 11 games. And it's very clear your motive was to get him back to play against his old team. I mean, what is he doing? What is the thought behind it? I don't get this.
My question is, this all seems fishy because the judge, and I'm paraphrasing, I believe said he had predatory behavior.
Correct.
But only gave him 6 games.
Well, now hold on.
Which sets it up for the NFL to appeal that.
Now hold on.
Which sets it up for the NFL to fight that because they want more.
John, to be fair, because we talked about this briefly before, she got that number based on Ben Roethlisberger. He was one of the examples that she was using. But if she's saying that if she believes it's predatory behavior, she said it's predatory behavior. I know that, but
then she's only setting it at 6 games. Like if you're
saying that's the precedent that was set,
it doesn't matter. Like if you're like this person murdered somebody, you're like, but the law says you only get 6 months in jail. Like, hey, common sense says maybe you should get a little bit more, of a penalty. Like use your brain instead of saying.
But to be fair. You have to go based on the precedent that was set. And
Not
so I
really.
blame the NFL more because the NFL is at fault for being so lenient with these players. That's where I take the biggest fault.
See, I don't believe in that precedent because NFL waivers, like 1 minute they'll like I said, Calvin Ridley will get suspended for a year for a $1,500 gamble.
But that's the first of its kind.
I know, but then you can't go common sense and say, okay, well, 24 cases against this guy, potential alleged assault, sexual assault, and all that stuff. But a guy does a $1,500 bet on, like he's down in Florida.
I agree.
And that warrants, no sense. Like, it doesn't matter what the precedent is. You should change that precedent and be like, okay,
I agree.
The assault is worth more than a $1,500.
Well, that is no doubt.
You know what I mean?
Agree with that. Yes.
Like you should be able to change that precedent and be like, this one outweighs it.
And you know what's really sad about all this, John? What you just said, while I completely agree, and I'm not even going to argue about that because there's no question about that. What's sad is Calvin Ridley still has a year and Deshaun Watson still has less than a year.
Yeah.
They appealed it, changed it, and what basically happened, it's not exact.
NFL got a double win.
But essentially per case, he got half a game suspension per case.
Yeah.
That's the approximate math of what they did to him.
And then the
Not
NFL
even.
got what they wanted.
Not even.
Watson got what he
Not
wanted. He gets
even.
to play the Texans.
And
Like,
then,
everybody
but
wins.
It's a
with Calvin
joke.
Ridley, it was a $1,500 bet. So you're going to tell me it was under $100 per game? He bet under for every $100 he bet approximately it was a 1-game suspension. How does that make sense? How does him betting $100 equal approximately 1 game of suspension? But Deshaun Watson gets a half a game per legal case against him
For sexual assault. Not
exactly. But it doesn't matter what it is at that point. Just
not
anything
a
was a
parlay
Not
on
crab legs.
DraftKings or Finn or whatever.
I mean, come on.
Not going into the supermarket and taking crab legs.
No.
You know.
No. Much worse. I mean, and you know what? And I'll leave it at this.
Poor Josh Gordon, who just wants to go buy some marijuana.
Yeah,
I know. But all right, let me leave it at this. My last comment will be this. Deshaun Watson's actions hurt other people. He gets 11 games. Calvin Ridley's actions hurt nobody but himself. If he loses that money, it only hurts him and or his family. But ultimately, it's his problem, right? How are you going to tell me that somebody hurt themselves gets a bigger suspension than somebody that hurt and impacted lives of multiple women for the rest of their lives? How are you going to tell me that that's in any way just at all fair?
And then to top it off, you're going to tell me the NFL isn't in bed with DraftKings, with FanDuel?
No, of course they are.
That makes the NFL how many millions and billions of
Billions
dollars?
of dollars, yeah.
So it's just completely absurd and disgusting. Listen, I like football. You know, the NFL is by far the king of football. We see every other league
king of
come
sports.
and go. It comes and goes, but just football. I'm not even talking other sports
Yeah,
right now. We see these other leagues come for a year or 2 years. They fold up. They go bankrupt. It's not even good to watch. It's not good football. The NFL is quality football until the referees can't decide what pass interference is.
That's a whole other issue.
They give 4 chances for touchdowns.
Yeah, that's it. We still watch it.
We're glued to our TVs Thursday, Sunday, and Monday to watch whatever game is on, whether it be the Jaguars, the Browns, the Jets,
the Giants, or the Rams.
It doesn't matter who's playing. We're
Makes
watching
no difference
as a society. But you're going to tell me Josh Gordon, who went to buy marijuana, which is legal in so many states, Calvin Ridley, who the NFL is making hundreds of millions of dollars because of DraftKings and FanDuel, they're going to sit out and miss more games than Deshaun Watson, who's destroyed possibly the lives of how many women. So that's all I got to say about it. That's a joke.
I think you put it perfectly. I think that's the best way to put it is just it makes no sense. And you know what? And you said it. They're in bed with these companies. Of course they are. Why wouldn't they be? Why wouldn't they? They make them.
But look at Patrick Mahomes doing the beer commercial with the flashlight.
Oh, can't do that.
Because
be careful.
You can't have a beer in the commercial. No, Patrick.
But you're in bed with those companies, nonetheless. You're in bed with them. I mean, come on. It's just
you're in bed with them, but you can't sleep with them.
Exactly. The NFL is being
ride that line.
The NFL is caught with their pants down around their ankles by their wife as they're cheating. I mean, like that's the look that they're giving off at this point.
And they're doing it. And they're doing the Shaggy. It wasn't me.
Exactly. It wasn't me. That's it.
I like that Jake knows what that song is. I like that.
Of course I do.
He's not old enough to remember it. I like that he knows what that song is.
John, let me teach you something. I'm well versed in culture and pop culture as a whole. I may not have been alive for it, but I do know what I'm talking about. I know.
That's what makes me love that you know it and you weren't even alive for it. That's cool.
It's one of my special talents.
So let's leave Deshaun and let's go with a positive story. Let's
Aaron
talk
Rodgers.
about some home runs.
Oh, shut up.
Never. Let's talk
He's never positive. Even when he wins MVPs, not positive.
Let's talk about home runs. You want to talk about the homeless shelter or the single season first?
Let's talk about single season real quick. I want to talk about that. Because Aaron Judge is single-handedly carrying the Yankees while they play like garbage. this team has been just awful, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend like they haven't been since the All-Star break. The Orioles have been better than the
Orioles have
Yankees
one of the best records in baseball since All-Star break.
But I'm saying that because it's a shock that the Orioles have been better.
I think you guys have the
Just-
worst record in baseball.
We
We've
do,
been terrible.
actually.
We've been
We
terrible.
do have the worst record in baseball.
But I will say there's one bright spot, and it continues to be Aaron Judge, because that man absolutely just annihilates baseballs. So far, there's no hint of any PEDs. I pray that there never is for him, because that would just tarnish his record, regardless of
Believe me, having Chris Davis, and then he had all that stuff. It definitely hits you right in the gut whenever you hear that news. Trust me.
Okay. Just
but
interrupt.
anyway.
Chris Davis, when he was hitting home runs, did you really think he was a home run hitter before that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, the guy's naturally just like a giant, So I didn't think that he was like a PD guy. The guy's just naturally, like Judge looks like he's naturally a giant. Like I don't look at Judge and say, I don't look at Judge and say he looked like Barry Bonds when Barry Bonds was.
Hold on, who's Barry Bonds? Do you mean, as JB eloquently put, one of our first shows ever, the incredible Barry Hulk?
Yeah.
Is that who you mean?
The pirate Barry Bonds,
who was still one of the best players of baseball.
Yes, no doubt.
Give that man a plaque.
But anyway, back
to Judge and Chris Davis don't look like guys that are roid users. They look naturally big.
I hope you're right. But anyway, back to my point is just, man, he is something special. I hope they re-sign him. But I mean, look, and John, you made a comment before the show started. Did Judge hit one over the that little Mickey Mouse fence? Yeah, John, he does. He may not always look. Yankee Stadium is known for some bad home runs sometimes, but that man can hit a baseball like nobody's business. And
that's the weakest can of corn right field, and it just somehow carries over that joke of a right field wall.
Listen, all I'm going to say is you can only hit the ball in the stadium you play in, John.
No, I know, but what were they thinking when they? I guess they were trying to help their.
That's the
dimension. You can't even say it helps them.
It's the worst stadium in baseball.
But you can't say it helps them if you're going to say that, because it helps everybody. Because everybody gets the same advantage
when they play there times a year.
Doesn't matter.
Fine, but I'm saying every team gets to play there. Like, I mean, every team that plays. Yeah. No, I'm saying every team that does play there gets that advantage.
But they get less at bats in their stadium than the teams they play combined because they win games. So it doesn't benefit them. It actually benefits the road team. The road team over a course of a year will get more at bats there. So
anyway,
argument.
Back to the point of this, and then we'll move on. Aaron Judge has just been absolutely lights out. Look, I don't like the fact that he might leave the Yankees just because I'm a Yankee fan, but I give him all the credit in the world because he came into the season, he bet on himself. He is likely, barring basically a miracle at this point, walking home with MVP. He's also got a chance at a home run record. He's going to have a great season no matter what at the end of the day. And, again, it kind of hurts the Yankees in a way because we're going to have to pay him even more now. But, hey, I give the man all the credit in the world, because he bet on himself and it clearly worked. He's going to earn the money that he deserves. And, the hope is that he doesn't.
And he hasn't even gotten injured yet.
Don't say it.
Stanton already did. I mean, you knew the Stanton one was coming eventually.
Of course,
you knew it was coming eventually.
But anyway, and then real quick, I just wanted to say this about baseball, and then there's other baseball topics I know we want to talk about. Mike Trout, as of about 20 minutes ago, he hit a 3-run home run, which was his 1,500th career hit. So, congratulations to Mike Trout. That's all.
Nice. He'll get to a couple hundred more hits, and that'll be the end of his career.
No.
Wow. John is so positive on.
What are you going to put him in a homeless shelter too?
No, I'm just saying that back injury is going to derail the rest of his career.
I don't know. He seems like a guy that's going to fight.
We're not going to get to see the same Mike Trout for the rest of his career.
It doesn't matter. Mike Trout's career has been wasted anyway.
Do you not think that the back injury he's always had, because it's a degenerative condition?
I don't know. I don't know anything about that stuff.
My guess is it's always been underlying at the very least.
Maybe it just came to fruition like
it could have flared up.
Now?
I don't know.
It's a great question, but let's talk about someone else who's huge in the home run history books. John's favorite homeless shelter person, Albert Pujols, 691 at the moment.
Shab, you had to leave.
No, he's more than that. He's got more than 691 now. He's got 693. I want to say.
No, I thought it was 691.
I think he has more than that. I think he had like 2 the other night.
I think that got him to 691.
How long does it take him to get around the bases after each home run? Like 5 minutes? Do they have a pitch clock on him like they do everybody else? So they have some sort of clock for him. Like if he doesn't get to home within 4 minutes, the run doesn't count.
Oh, it is 693. You're right.
Yeah.
7 away.
And I
make sure you guys check in on that if there's a clock of some sort where he has to get around the bases in a certain amount of time.
no,
Because I'm sure he takes like at least 4 minutes, maybe 5. Because he's old and slow.
John has no respect for Albert Pujols. What
I know. I don't get it.
The Cardinals, half of his career was amazing, Hall of Fame worthy type of career. And the Angels one, I don't understand how you can be worse. Doesn't make any sense. And I think it's a little bit of a joke. Is the worst 600 home run hitter I've ever seen. I'd rather have Jim Thome.
Why? What is wrong with Pujols? Tell me.
I don't like that you can go and be a DH and be worse. How can you get worse? You should be better.
No.
It's a joke with
Age.
the Angels signing that giant contract.
John.
He's only,
Age.
29 or
Age.
30. Stop. He still had plenty of life left. Tom Brady's 45, and we don't,
Okay, hold on. You cannot talk about Tom Brady.
Stop.
John, how many players played for 22 years in Major League Baseball, John?
Pujols doesn't even have to do anything. He stands there at first base. It's not like he's a center fielder, or it's not like he's
John, it doesn't make it easy.
Stop.
John,
but it's not like it's not like he has tread on the tires. That's what I'm saying. Like,
yes, he does.
He's not a football player. He's not a running back wearing down the legs. They're wearing down the knees.
John,
he hits a baseball.
Name
and
another
he stands
42
at first base.
John, name another 42-year-old to do things like that.
Right. I'm just
there
saying,
are limited guys.
You said
that
the age whenever he switched teams, he was like 30, and he hadn't really done anything defensively. But
when he switched to LA, he had plenty of strong seasons.
To the Angels, yes.
John, since he joined LA, he hit 30 or more home runs once, twice, 3.
Look at the average. Look at the
average,
home runs.
John, average has gone down.
All his numbers went down.
John, he was 30 years old.
I don't care. There's no tread on the tires playing first and batting. Like that really
John,
doesn't
do you
wear
know
you
the
down
positions
as a
he's
player,
played in his career? He has not always been a first baseman. I hope you know that.
On the Angels? On the Cardinals?
Just in general. He's not always been a first baseman, first of all. And second of all, more importantly, he joined them at the age of 30. He was bound to hit a decline.
Wow.
Actually, he was 32 when he joined LA. Excuse me.
He doesn't impress me. The Cardinals career impresses me, not the Angels side. Half of his career impresses me. There you go. So cut his home runs in half, and that's what I give him.
So because his average is not acceptable to you, his home runs don't count?
Whatever he hit outside of the Cardinals doesn't count. Take it away.
Okay. Wow. So let me look something up.
So how many players? John, how many Major League players have played 22 years? Let's start with that.
If you count those Angels years as playing, that's like saying a backup quarterback played.
Okay, John, how many years have you played in Major League Baseball?
As many as you.
Exactly. So Albert Pujols has played.
But
32.
I didn't try and go into Major League Baseball. That wasn't the career I chose.
So, John, let me ask you. Cal Ripken Jr. had many seasons where his batting average was below 300.
Yeah.
Should we just discount those because those are not as good? They're not Cal Ripken Jr. numbers. They're not amazing.
The same team, and he was great throughout his career.
Hold on. So that's the problem. That's your excuse because you switched teams.
Why? How can you switch from non-DH side to a DH side,
John,
and get worse?
I think you're missing the important aspect of this. He was over 32 years old, John.
I don't care.
John,
No
32 is
excuses.
old for a baseball, for any sports player. I don't care how often you play. It happens. It's not that easy.
I am so disappointed with John's take on this.
Next. I'm
John,
done
you
with
have
Albert
nothing.
Pujols. Never
you
want to
have-
hear his name again
John,
for as
John,
long as they
John,
live.
you have literally zero basis for your argument. Other
So,
than
Jake,
Not an argument.
32
it's just
years
how I
old,
feel.
and he switched teams. No, I don't want to hear it.
So,
You're telling
Jake,
me he switched teams,
forget
so that's a
about
problem.
John for a second, Jake. If you're Albert Pujols and you end up with 698 home runs, do you come back next year?
Oh, absolutely.
I think you have to.
I would, but he
Yeah,
specifically said, I'm not doing that.
No, he said he's not. But if you like at 698, which he should be able to make, and it's going to be close.
Agreed.
I got to come back.
I would come back.
I would never be able to sit with that kind of number, even the number he is now. Right now, it's 700 a bust.
I'm with you. I would say I got to come back because I got to hit it.
And he could just come back, hit a 700 and walk off the field and tell
That's
the team,
it.
listen,
That's it.
sign me. If I was higher, as soon as I hit the home run, I'll hit the home run. I'll run the bases, go right into the clubhouse, have a good
and
night.
right off into the sunset.
And that would be a great ending if you think about
He
it.
definitely can't run any bases.
John, I don't want to hear from you.
Wow.
I don't want to hear from you.
John, man. I want to see when you're 40, John.
Yeah. And John,
That's what
I'd
I wanna
also
see.
like to point out Albert Pujols is batting 277 this year, which you may not like, but for batting averages today, that's actually pretty good.
See what I mean? How can he go from a 198 2 years ago to that? It doesn't make sense. I just don't understand this guy. And for that,
because he had more.
cut his stats
John,
in half.
John, in 2020,
I'm done with him. I'm done with Albert Pujols.
John, that was when he played in LA, but in that same year, he played for two teams. He played for the Dodgers. While playing for the Dodgers in 21, his batting average was a 254. He jumped 60-plus points. He was better.
How are you one of the all-time greats and you bat a 198 in a season like that? Get out of here. Get out of here.
Do you not know about player decline?
Fraud. Get out of here. You're the worst.
John, you are got to be the king of bad takes tonight.
He was over the age of 40.
The king of bad takes, Jon Shearer.
Pujols is boring. Next.
Pujols.
Give me somebody that isn't
John, hold on. All right, here's what I want to say, and I'm going to leave it at this. Okay? This is batting averages over the age of 40 and over, with a minimum of 1,200 plate appearances. Okay? This is the average. Number one is a 347, which is unbelievable. That is beyond incredible. But number 10, this is just number 10, is only a 273. And the reason I'm saying this, and the reason I'm making this point, number 10 is hitting around where Pujols is hitting right now. It's not easy hitting over the age of 40, John. It's not as easy as you seem to think it is.
I didn't say it was.
John, how many people in your lifetime have you seen hit 700 home runs?
I mean, there's only a small amount in the 700 club.
Right. How many have you seen?
Well, I don't think I've ever seen any. Have I?
Exactly.
No.
Bonds.
Barry Bonds doesn't count.
Barry Bonds doesn't count.
Nope.
Wow.
John just bad take after bad take.
He doesn't count. He cheated.
Doesn't count.
He
did not
cheated.
cheat, John.
How can you count if you're a cheater?
It was not against the rules of baseball, John.
It's against our rules. It's against the unwritten rules.
Not against my rules.
Get him out of here.
John, they're unwritten
David Ortiz,
for a
not
reason.
a Hall of Famer. Him, not a Hall of Famer. Like you.
Unwritten rules are unwritten for a reason. If they're not in writing, it's not a rule. Rules are written. Unwritten rules are a bunch of baloney.
If you cheat, you automatically are disqualified.
John, everybody cheats.
Still
it's
play
just
the
who gets
game.
Caught.
You can still play the game, but your stats don't matter.
John,
your stats don't matter.
Everybody cheats.
So
it's just who
did
gets
the
caught.
You can't say
did the
that. That's
Astros
a blanket
lose
statement.
their World Series trophy?
Huh?
Last time the Astros are still the World Series champions, right?
I mean, that's what you want to go with, sure.
Are they
Not
not?
all of us believe that, but if you want to go with that, sure.
John, look in the history books. Who's the World Series champion?
Look, I mean, in my book, in my history
You
book,
don't have a book.
I'm gonna
John,
make a book.
where can I purchase your book? Where can I purchase this so-called book?
I'm making it. I have a person helping me right now.
Okay, John.
And who is this person that I want to send
Well,
to the
if I told
psychiatric
you, then
ward?
you would try and take them from me. I can't.
No, I don't think I want to take them because if they're working with you, I'll pass.
All right, thanks. Next.
Wow.
All right,
This
so
is going
one bad
off
take.
the rails.
Yeah, because you haven't made a single argument. You
Thanks.
have just said
I
all
really
your argument
appreciate
is
you guys falling down the rabbit hole with me.
the argument that he's made. I'm going to repeat it. Was as follows. Well, he became a DH, so he should be better. That's his argument, excluding the fact that he was 32 years old when it started. So he was going to be on a decline as it was just because he's older, and that's how life works.
And you do realize that some players actually do worse with their DH because
Absolutely.
they're
I
not
was
in the game.
just going to say
That's
that.
stupid. That's stupid.
That's
Why is it
stupid?
stupid?
You don't even have to play defense. You could just
That's
focus
actually
on
worse
batting.
for them.
That's
But that
it.
might throw them off the groove. They're used to being on
then
the
they're
field.
not just maybe they're not that good to begin with. I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know what to tell you.
What are you saying?
You
So
should
in
be
the
better.
history,
It's like saying
of
you get more
baseball,
days of rest as a pitcher, and you're not as good when you have more days
That's
of rest.
actually
That's
completely
stupid.
valid. No.
That's stupid.
Okay, hold on. You want to go down that rabbit hole? Hold on.
Please.
Pitchers have a set day of rests that they need. So if you give them more, it actually takes them out of the cycle that they're used to. So it actually makes
I
it
never
harder
got
for
down
them.
with that. I the more rest you get, I
Doesn't
feel like
matter.
you should. I feel
That's
like you
not
should
true.
definitely be well rested. There shouldn't be
John,
over rest.
John, you couldn't be more wrong. It is amazing how horrible of a take you're giving me right now.
Thank you.
So I have a
Because
question. Do we count Pete Rose as the all-time hit leader?
Sure.
but he
Okay,
cheated.
He didn't cheat.
Wait, no, forget about the cheating. He had almost 15,900 at bats. Number 2 was Yastrzemski with almost 14,000. Ty Cobb only had 13,000. So I mean, why are we counting Pete Rose?
Well, that's
He's got
what I
more
count.
bats than them.
My Hell Hot Takes book now on Amazon. That's what I count. Pete Rose is the top guy.
But why? Well, he had more bats, John. Why would we count that?
You gotta read the book, man. Like you can't just when I write this book, I can't just give you all the answers once I eventually write it. That's not how this works. And it will be out eventually, don't you worry.
You know what? That's the day I'm gonna definitely ban Amazon from my household.
Agreed. Because John, you have zero argument against Albert
I'm really
Pujols.
glad you guys just keep going down this rabbit hole, indulging me.
I'm fine with that. It just makes no sense. Just waiting for an argument, John. Waiting for an argument that makes logical sense.
Case.
No, you haven't.
So
Let's talk about T.O. Let's talk a little bit about T.O.
Toe?
Yeah, Terrell Owens. Let's talk about what him and Deion Sanders said.
Well, what's there to talk about,
The
John?
Hall of Fame.
What
Well,
did they say?
let's go. Come on. You want to talk about it?
Bring up
You've
their
got so much.
comments.
You've got so much to say today. Let's hear it. Come on.
Bring up their comments for me, if you would.
I don't have one hand.
Jeez, Jake. All right, so
I'm
Deion,
busy dealing with your silly statements.
All right, so Deion basically said that
Here,
the
I got
guys.
it for you.
All right.
Deion Sanders says NFL Hall of Fame is becoming a quote-unquote free-for-all. The Hall of Fame ain't the Hall of Fame no more. A lot of Hall of Famers think the same thing. There you go, John. You're welcome.
He also did go on to say that if the guys that are getting it have recently gotten in, like he didn't say specific names, but he basically said if the guys that have recently got in, then he should get a different wing for his space.
I'm going to nip this in the bud right now. As much as I agree with this, he's neglecting a very obvious fact. There is one person that was playing before he was even born that is in the Hall of Fame and never should have been put there, but he was, and it doesn't matter. It's Joe Namath. Joe Cool is the worst. He is, as John would describe, the Harold Baines
Yes,
of
thank
NFL
you.
of NFL guys.
That guy's on
He
my
is
list.
the most, in my opinion, most undeserving Hall of Famer of all time. He's got one win. That's it. One win.
Guaranteed.
That is it. And look, I don't care if he guaranteed it or not. I understand it was impressive. If his career average in terms of wins was even at 500, I'd be a little more forgiving. He was below 500. He was a losing quarterback. He wasn't even
Eli
remotely.
had a 500 record.
That's why I said what I said. Because at least Eli Manning, I can make the argument, fine. He didn't win a lot of games, but he didn't lose them all. At least he was at 500. At least he hit that mark. He sunk. He was so bad, he was under 500. Now, again, I don't know all the stats about his teams. I don't know how his defense played. So I understand that those are factors I would have to consider. And I am very much a proponent of understanding the teams he was on. But he has no statistics at all. His stats don't even remotely stand out in the test of his era. At least Eli Manning's have some stats that, the guy that played around him and for the length of time,
top
at least his
15
stats,
all-time in yards
at least
or
his
something.
stats make
Yeah.
sense. There is nothing for Joe Namath. So while I understand what T.O. and what they're getting at, what those guys are getting at, you can't make the argument.
But I don't think
you're saying guys are being added now. It's
I don't
been
think
that
he's
way
saying
since
like
its inception.
one guy. I think he's saying like these waves of guys, like this class.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying that the Hall of Fame isn't just getting like this now. It's been that way since the beginning.
But there's a difference between the Football Hall of Fame and like the Baseball Hall of Fame. The Baseball Hall of Fame, you can have nobody go in. The Football Hall of Fame has a class every year.
That's true.
Yeah.
So you to put a class in every year of multiple people, you're going to water down who can get in.
But there's so many guys that are waiting that are way better. Like, no offense to the class this year, but this was the weakest class I've ever seen.
It was bad. Like last year was an amazing class. Oh my God.
I only saw two guys where I'm like, yeah, that guy's a Hall of Famer.
Who were they? I think I know who they are.
Everybody else, I was like, or definitely not.
Who were your two guys? I think my two I know, and I think that they're probably the same.
So my guarantees were Dick Vermeil and Tony Baselli.
John, I sometimes love you.
That was easy, though.
Sometimes you say smart things because, yes, those were the obvious consensus picks. Everybody else, I don't really understand.
And it's not a knock on them. Like, those guys got in. Congratulations. Like, I'm happy for you. I'm not upset at those people. They don't get to choose if they get in or not. But, like, it's the Hall of Fame, man. Like, when I think of the Hall of Fame, I think of Tom freaking Brady. I think of Tom freaking Brady and Deion Sanders.
This is a comment.
Well, I don't think it's Tom Brady because he's still playing. Even though he took 11 days
like
off,
that are the best of the best.
But hold on. This is a comment here I couldn't agree with more. I don't care that Devin Hester didn't play the sexy positions. He didn't even play it. He didn't play as much as most guys will ever play. But John just said it. That's exactly what it is. The Hall of Fame is very much about not only were you one of the best in football, but more importantly, it's a lot of were you the best at your position. That's a lot of what you have to remember because you can't compare Tom Brady to Devin Hester. It's not fair. They played totally different positions. Tom Brady would smoke Devin Hester at quarterback, but Devin Hester would smoke Tom Brady at being a return guy. So it's different. So Devin Hester is the greatest in his position.
But Devin Hester would smoke everybody at being a return guy.
But my point is, the voters are like, oh, well, he's not like Tom Brady. He's not that good. No, but his position, you couldn't be better. He was the man. And that's why I'm so annoyed. And it's why I love that comment is I don't care that he wasn't your favorite position. He was a special teams player. He was the best at his position ever. You cannot deny. If he was a top 50 player in his position and you didn't want to put him in yet, okay, I understand that. I won't be mad. But he is the best to touch a football at his position. Unbelievable.
Yeah. It's like I said, when you look at, and this isn't a knock, but look at Richard Seymour. The guy had, 57 sacks? Like, how is that the only reason he got in?
Effect.
It's a Patriots effect, and you're going to get
Yeah.
more guys that are going to get into the Hall of Fame off of that that dynasty. I guarantee it.
I agree.
You're going to get Rodney Harrison, my opinion.
Yep, probably.
I don't think Teddy Bruschi's in, but I think you'll get Teddy Bruschi. I think you'll get Bruschi. And then I think you get Lawyer Malloy. I think you get all them guys somehow, some way, all three of them guys get in. And maybe more. But
you're very right.
But I hate that effect.
All right.
But that's because the NFL has a class every year, no matter
You're
what.
right.
And Denzel's right.
I
think Edelman eventually gets
in. But
in.
at least Edelman, I can understand eventually getting in.
His stats are awful in the regular
Super Bowl
season.
MVP, I can understand. But anyway, guys, we got to wrap this up. So let's really quickly, we got like 30 seconds here. JV, where can they find you? Let's make it quick.
Listen, nice and easy. Watch Confidential in a couple hours. Denzel Snipes will be producing. Got a great cast. And we beat the O's a couple of days ago. Shocker.
Stop
we
it.
destroyed
Go
them.
away.
All right.
Destroyed.
John,
Garbage,
really
garbage.
quickly. Real quick, John, make it super quick.
13, Sideline Sports Network. Check out our YouTube and all of our channels.
Yes. Everybody, just look at the bottom of your screen. I'm not even going to go over it this week. We will see you next time. Everybody have a good one. That's it.
Peace.